Think you know the Marvel Universe? Think again. The movies may have wowed us on the big screen, but the comics? They tell a whole different story. From switched up origin to completely new motivations, Marvel cinematic heroes aren't always who they seem. So suit up, grab your shield or your popcorn, and let's jump into the multiverse of Marvel madness. There are many notable differences between Marvel Comics and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, especially when it comes to character origins, plotlines, and motivations. One clear example is Iron Man. In the original comics, Tony Stark becomes Iron Man after being injured in the Vietnam War, where he builds his first suit of armor to escape captivity. This setting reflected the era in which the character was created. However, in the 2008 Iron Man film, the war zone is updated to Afghanistan to better align with contemporary events and geopolitical relevance. This shift is part of the broader trend of the MCU adapting origin stories to make them more relatable to modern audiences. Another significant change involves the villain Ultron. In the comics, Ultron is created by Hank Pym, also known as Ant-Man. However, in the film Avengers: Age of Ultron, the character is instead created by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. Tony Stark and Bruce Banner using artificial intelligence derived from the Mind Stone. This change was necessary because Hank Pym had not yet been introduced in the MCU at the time, and the film series leaned heavily on Stark as a tech genius behind many major developments. Scarlet Witch's backstory also differs greatly between mediums. In the comics, Wanda Maximoff is a mutant and the daughter of Magneto, one of the X-Men central figures. Her powers are rooted in chaos magic and mutant genetics. In the MCU, however, she gains her powers through exposure to the Mind Stone during Hydra experiments, and her mutant lineage is not mentioned, largely due to film rights issues at the time. It wasn't until the multiverse storylines began unfolding in Phase 4 that the concept of mutants was even hinted at in the MCU. The Civil War storyline is another major divergence. In the comics, it's a sprawling crossover event involving a massive number of Marvel characters, including the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and many others. The central conflict revolves around a government law, requiring superheroes to register their identities, sparking a philosophical and literal battle between factions led by Iron Man and Captain America. The film adaptation, Captain America: Civil War, had to dramatically reduce the scope due to character rights and time constraints. The conflict is more personal, sparked by the Sokovia Accords and the fallout from previous Avengers missions, and it only involves a limited number of heroes already introduced in the MCU. The character of the Mandarin is also handled very different. In the comics, the Mandarin is one of Iron Man's most dangerous enemies, wielding 10 alien rings, each with unique powers. He's portrayed as a powerful martial artist and strategic villain. In Iron Man 3, however, the Mandarin is revealed to be an actor named Trevor Slattery, hired to play a fake terrorist leader, while the real villain is Aldrich Killian. This twist disappointed many fans, but the real Mandarin, or a reinterpretation of him, was later introduced in Shang-Chi, and the Legend of the Ten Rings, offering a more faithful yet updated version of the character. Thanos is another character with dramatically altered motivations. In the comic storyline Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos seeks to impress the personification of death, whom he loves, by wiping out half the universe. His actions are driven by obsession and a twisted romantic desire. In the MCU, this reasoning is changed to make his plan more logical. He wants to reduce overpopulation and suffering by eliminating half of all life to bring balance to the universe. This change gave his character more philosophical depth and grounded his actions in a relatable, if still horrifying, rationale. Nick Fury is also a great example of reinvention. In the original comics, he was a white man and a World War II veteran, often associated with the Howling Commandos and SHIELD leadership in the classic Marvel universe. The MCU's version, portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson, is modeled after the character from the Ultimate Marvel universe, a reimagining of Marvel characters in a modern context. This version of Fury is younger, black, and more secretive, better fitting the role of the master manipulator orchestrating the Avengers initiative. Spider-Man's suit highlights another key difference. Comic book Peter Parker designs and builds his own suits, often on a tight budget with limited resources. His ingenuity and struggle are central to his identity. In the MCU, starting with Spider-Man: Homecoming, Peter receives a highly advanced suit from Tony Stark, equipped with an AI, spider drones, and various high-tech features. While this enhances the visual spectacle, it changes the narrative of Peter as a scrappy self-made hero. Valkyrie also diverges from her comic book counterpart. In the comics, Valkyrie is a traditional Asgardian warrior named Brunhilde, usually depicted as a tall blonde woman in armor, wielding a sword and riding a winged horse. In Thor, Ragnarok, the character is played by Tessa Thompson and reimagined as a hard-drinking, battle-hardened survivor of Hela's massacre of the Valkyries. This version adds more emotional depth and diversity to the Asgardian mythos portrayed in the films. Finally, the Infinity Gauntlet storyline in the comics includes many cosmic entities and abstract beings like Eternity, Mephisto, and the Living Tribunal, and heavily features Adam Warlock as a central figure in defeating Thanos. Due to the complexity and lesser-known nature of these characters, the MCU chose to streamline the narrative in Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, focusing on the heroes audiences were already familiar with. Adam Warlock was only introduced later in Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3, long after the Thanos saga concluded, and that's just scratching the surface of how Marvel movies and comics go their separate ways. From the MCU is more like a remix than a direct adaptation, and honestly, that's half the fun. If you enjoyed this dive into the Marvel multiverse, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future breakdowns, deep dives, or comic to screen comparisons.